By far one of the biggest debates among FNaF theorists within the last year or so has been, is Ruined Glamrock Freddy the Freddy from Security Breach, or a separate Glamrock Freddy? Being introduced as a character in July of 2023 with the release of Security Breach's DLC Ruined Glamrock Freddy had a very short amount of runtime within the DLC, only showing up for two basic but pretty cool chases. Not sure how this blind robot, who I'd imagine has the same amount of awareness as a deaf newborn baby panda, is able to hunt you down, but hey, there's a first time for everything. However, upon closer inspection of his model found within the game files, players discovered a crucial detail. On his foot! On Freddy's right foot, you can clearly make out the word prototype, a detail that is not present on Glamrock Freddy's model from Security Breach, which immediately prompted the question of, is this Imposter Freddy, or our Freddy from Security Breach? And after thoroughly examining Security Breach, Ruin, and Help Wanted 2, I believe that I can come to a fully accurate conclusion on the identity of this Freddy. No, I'm not claiming to have solved this, yes, there are other interpretations, moving on. So make sure to jump scare that subscribe button and throw it in your imaginary stomach catch when you're done with it, as I break down and ultimately reveal the identity of FNaF's most frustrating Freddy. Before we start, I want to give a brief rundown of Glamrock Freddy's appearances across the series, as I think this will help us understand his behavior and help us figure out what's going on with Ruined Freddy. Glamrock Freddy's first formal appearance was in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. After glitching out on stage presumably from seeing Gregory, Freddy is rebooted in safe mode, and is safe from the glitch trap virus infecting his bandmates. From here, Freddy serves as our companion around the Pizzaplex, letting us climb into him at any point, and literally giving his own life to save Gregory. What a Chad. The two most important things about Glamrock Freddy's appearance in Security Breach is that A, he is removed from the Vanny network, which is a network that controls the Pizzaplex, and B, he is upgraded with Roxy's eyes and Chica's voice box. He may have also been upgraded with Monty's claws, but at the very least he had the voice box and eyes, as killing Roxy is a required story mission, and we know that Gregory goes to Phaser Blast at 4 AM due to him mentioning Vanny's name during the 6 AM cutscene. These two details are very important, so keep them in the back of your mind. Moving on to Freddy's next appearance in Ruin, as I mentioned earlier, Freddy only appears during the Phaser Blast section of the game for a short chase sequence. After this chase, you run into him one more time while deactivating an inhibitor, before leaving Phaser Blast and never seeing him again. While this appearance is pretty short, there are a few important pieces of information that we can gather. First of all, his foot says prototype on it. Second, he disappears when we put on our mask. And third, his goal is to seemingly stuff us into a stomach catch. All of this info will be important later, so again, keep it in your mind. Glamrock Freddy's latest appearance as of writing this video is in Help Wanted 2, where he has his own dedicated level called Cold Storage. It's a pretty simple parts and service inspired minigame, where you mess around with various parts of Freddy while adjusting his temperature. The main thing to take away here is the fact that this Glamrock Freddy has several differences to both the Security Breach and Ruin models, with the Help Wanted 2 model featuring coils, a button on his endo, and a few more things. That's really the only takeaway here. Freddy is noticeably featuring a few new additions that weren't present in previous models. Now that we have all of our information gathered, let's start theorizing. To get things started, I want to examine Ruined Freddy's honestly really cool model, and compare it to both the Security Breach Freddy and Help Wanted 2 Freddy models. Starting at the, well, lack of head of Freddy, this design aspect is probably his most well-known one. But why would Freddy be missing his head in the first place? Well, to answer that, we need to talk about which ending of Security Breach is canon. Security Breach's main game has 6 different endings. The Disassemble Vanny ending, where Vanny dies and Freddy is torn apart. The Fire Escape ending, where Vanny and Freddy are killed and Vanny is revealed to be Vanessa. The Van ending, where Gregory and Freddy escape in a van. The Escape ending, where Gregory leaves and is killed by Vanny. The Afton ending, where basically everything that made the FNaF 6 ending great is torn to shreds. And finally the Princess Quest ending, where Glitch Trap is removed from Vanny's mind and Freddy is disassembled, although his head still comes with Gregory and Vanessa. So, which one is canon? Well, Ruin actually provides us with a pretty clear answer. During the Phaser Blast section of the game, we end up inside the security room with the third Princess Quest arcade machine. If we put on our mask, we find out that a giant golden sword has been stabbed through the machine, and that coupled with the comic drawings we can collect, make it pretty clear that the Princess Quest ending is canon to Security Breach. It's the only ending that doesn't have a comic, and that giant sword plus the lack of Vanny make it pretty clear that this is the canon ending. And what happens in the Princess Quest ending? Freddy is disassembled, in Phaser Blast mind you, however his head is salvaged by Gregory. So, case closed, Ruined Freddy and Security Breach Freddy are the same. Right? Well, it's not that simple. If we look at Ruined Freddy's stomach, we can clearly make out a present box, which is strange because while Security Breach Freddy did have a present box in his stomach hatch, that was at the very start of the game, plus the boxes are different colors. Finally, Ruined Freddy has some slight color differences from regular Freddy, and Ruined Freddy does seem to have Monty's claws, although there's no evidence of Chica's voice box or Roxy's eyes. And that's Ruined Freddy's model. Pretty interesting, and featuring some slight variations of Security Breach's Freddy. But how does Help Wanted 2 Freddy fit into this? Well, you know how I mentioned that Help Wanted 2 Freddy has some extra features on his model compared to Security Breach Freddy? Well, what I didn't mention is the fact that all of these changes exist for gameplay reasons. The coils, the button, these little slots on the arms, they all serve as things to make the gameplay of the level better and make more sense. To me at least, Help Wanted 2 Freddy is an example of retconning or changing a character's design for a specific purpose. And this is definitely not the first time FNaF has done this. Just look at Springtrap vs Scraptrap. These two are clearly meant to be the same character, however they look extremely different. Or look at Scrap Baby vs Circus Baby, or the Withered animatronics versus the classic animatronics. My point is, FNaF in the past has been very open to changing character designs for certain reasons, and I think that Security Breach Glamrock Freddy versus Help Wanted 2 Glamrock Freddy is a clear example of that. I think what Steelwool is trying to say is that just because this character has a few small changes, like slightly altered colors, or a present in his stomach hatch, or even a prototype marking on his foot, that doesn't mean he can't be our Glamrock Freddy. Is this confirmation that the two are one and the same? No, definitely not. But I think this is meant to be Steelwool's way of saying that it's a possibility, and that we should try and keep an open mind. You got all of that? Great, because we still have 3 major questions to answer about Ruined Freddy. First of all, if Ruined Freddy is our Freddy, why is he attacking us? I mean, if this is our Glamrock Freddy, he's supposed to be friendly, right? I mean, all throughout Security Breach, Freddy served as an easy hiding spot while making iconic Among Us jokes.
Have you ever heard of Among Us, Gregory?
So, why is he now hostile in Ruin? Well, I want you to think about our encounter with Ruined Freddy again. What exactly happens? We walk over, he gets up, opens his stomach hatch, chases us, and if we get caught, he stuffs us in his stomach hatch. I know this probably sounds insane, but what if Ruined Freddy is actually friendly and on our side? But that's impossible, he's clearly trying to stuff us in his stomach hatch, I hear you say. And while you are correct, Freddy probably doesn't know that he's killing us. He doesn't have eyes to see us or ears to hear us, so from his point of view, all that's happening is he's stuffing someone in his stomach hatch, which he knows is a safe place for kids, thanks to Security Breach. It's entirely possible that Freddy's goal in chasing and capturing us isn't to kill us, but rather to protect us. Admittedly, this is kind of a weak point, given Freddy's lack of eyes and ears make it pretty hard for him to tell that we're an adult, and he could very well assume that we're an intruder or something and actually want to kill us. But this is just something that I thought was worth mentioning. The second major question about Ruined Freddy that we have to answer is, why is Ruined Freddy not present when wearing the mask? After his chase scene, Ruined Freddy slowly walks towards you in a second encounter while you're next to an AR inhibitor. Deactivate the inhibitor, throw on your mask, and all of a sudden he's gone. Completely invisible, but still physically there as he'll jumpscare you if you remove your mask while standing next to him. This is a seemingly very random part of the game with no further explanation. Or is there? Remember how I mentioned that you should remember the fact that Freddy can't connect to the Pizzaplex network at the start of the game? Well, I hope you did, because it's important now. This one tiny detail at the start of the game could completely explain why Ruined Freddy is invisible when wearing the mask. If you remember from Ruin, The mask is what connects us to the Vanny network running the Pizzaplex, and if Freddy's safe mode reboot left him unable to connect to the network, that means that the network wouldn't notice him. It means that he would be invisible to the network. He's still a physical animatronic, but as far as the network's concerned, he doesn't exist. Again, is this confirmation of anything? No, but the evidence is definitely starting to pile up. The final question we need to answer about Ruined Freddy is a very important one. What does prototype mean? Why would Steel Wool feel the need to include this random word on the bottom of Freddy's foot? Initially, I had no idea why they would do this. Maybe it's just another instance of updating the model, but that didn't really make sense, because this change doesn't affect the gameplay like Help Wanted 2's Freddy. It's a design quirk that was a complete enigma to me. But after diving back into Security Breach for the first time in a while, I remembered this voice line from Freddy when he enters the Endo warehouse.
I have never been allowed in here before. This must be where I was born. Look at all the Endos. They're all the same. Have I always been a Freddy? Am I Monty with a different shell? What if I am not the first Glamrock Freddy? Are there more of me at other pizzerias? Do we all feel the same? Am I special? If I am mass-produced, am I still art?
And at the same time, I remembered a detail from Tales from the Pizzaplex. See, I personally am a firm believer in Tales games, which is a theory that states that the Tales from the Pizzaplex books are canon, and a very random detail about those books is that they heavily imply that more than one Pizzaplex exists, and not just the one from Security Breach. That's when it all started clicking. Glamrock Freddy from Security Breach is not the only Glamrock Freddy. After all, why would Freddy contemplate being mass-produced if nothing in his system gave him a reason to think that? Unless there was. Say, for instance, the knowledge that multiple Pizzaplexes exist. Heck, it's even possible that the reason Freddy has a system crash on stage is because he's a prototype, and maybe he just doesn't have the proper tech to deal with these crashes. It would make sense if he was just a prototype of the Glamrock Freddy that Fazbear Entertainment was trying to create. With all of this evidence stacked up, it became extremely clear to me that Ruined Freddy is indeed our Freddy from Security Breach. Pretty much everything about them was connected, or could be explained in some way. But let's do a quick recap of the evidence. We know that the Princess quest ending from Security Breach is canon, so that explains the lack of head, destroyed body, and Freddy being in Phaser Blast. Next, Ruined Freddy disappearing in the AR world is explained by the fact that he was never able to connect to it after the system crash. His behavior could potentially be explained by him being friendly and just wanting to protect us. The minor design differences can be explained by Help Wanted 2's Glamrock Freddy, and finally his sharp fingers can be explained by Gregory having upgraded them with Monty's claws at some point. The only thing I truly can't explain is why there's a present box in his stomach catch. Maybe it's just another design update, but it feels too intentional to just be that, so who really knows. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Going back through Security Breach, Ruin, and Help Wanted 2 was an absolute blast, and so was combing through all of the details on Ruined Freddy's identity. I really like Ruined Freddy both for his design and mysterious nature, and it feels really good to finally answer who he truly is, at least in my opinion. I really enjoy making these FNaF theories, and I plan on making plenty more in addition to other content, so stay tuned for more. But anyways, that's all from me. I'm Supersonic, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.